Welcome here into Teal the Show. It is Victory Monday. We haven't had enough of these this season, just the second one in the regular season. We had a bunch of them during the preseason.
Hey, undefeated preseason.
Undefeated preseason, but it has been a struggle through the regular season. But Victory Monday nonetheless. We've got Justin Barney hanging out with me. Frank Frangi's still getting accustomed to coming back across the pond, but we'll have him back in here on Friday.
Yeah, I'm ready for Frank to get back in here on Friday. So it's good to see the Jags back home, but can they continue it? I think that's what Doug Pederson alluded to. Streak, more than just one game, you got to do it, and Packers in town on Sunday.
Look, that's the real test, is building off of this. Doug Pederson, Trevor Lawrence both talked about it after the game and know that moving forward this week, it's not about just the one win. It's about what you do next.
You know, we've got to duplicate it. We got to duplicate the energy. We got to duplicate, you know, what we did over here. You know, this week of practice has been one of our better weeks of practice, and you know, we've got to be able to carry this all the way back and do it again. I mean, that's what this league is. It's a short-term memory. You just try to go 1-0 each week, but I thought the guys really handled themselves, you know, professionally while we were here, you know, for the 10 days.
We've been in this situation before. We know what we have to do, and we know we have some tough teams coming up on our schedule. But that, I mean, also saying that it's the NFL every week, even if it's a team that isn't looked at as a Super Bowl contender, anybody can beat you any week. I mean, I've experienced that, been on both sides of it. My rookie year, you know, we didn't have a great year, and, you know, we beat the Bills, who were a Super Bowl contender. We beat them like 9-6 at home. We beat Indy the last week of the year. We were 2-14, and they had to beat us to go to the playoffs. We beat them. So it's just this league, it's week to week, and it doesn't matter who you're playing. You have to play well to win. So that's what we understand that, and we have to just go do it.
So how do you build off of that, Justin? You beat a team that is admitted they're in the rebuild mode. Coach Mayo even said after the game that they are a soft football team, so not exactly a hugely applauding victory, but a win nonetheless, and something that the Jaguars can use to take maybe some positive steps forward.
Yeah, and you need those small positives. Stack your small wins. That's what you need to do, and I think Doug, Trevor, the players know that, yeah, it's nice to get that after the successes have been very limited this year, so you get that one. Hey, look, you're both wins this year against two teams that were starting a 39-year-old backup quarterback and possibly the worst team in the NFL. So you take those with a grain of salt, but you have to get that one to get the next one.
So there were some strong performances in this football game on Sunday from the team. Maybe a little bit of a slow start, found themselves in a 10-point hole, but then all of a sudden they turned things on and dug their way out of it. Let's start off, we got to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. BTJ has really turned it on week after week for the Jaguars, turned into maybe that wide receiver one that we've talked about for a while the Jaguars needed. He is clearly that guy. Fantastic catch with Christian Gonzalez draped all over him, but you also got to give credit to the throw from Trevor Lawrence because he put that thing right where it needed to be.
Yeah, first 4 games of the year, Trevor's not making that throw. The last 3 games, he's made throws like that, and he is continuing to improve. And Brian Thomas Jr. is the guy Jacksonville has lacked for years and years and years. You saw a little glimpse of that with Calvin Ridley last year. Too many inconsistencies. Brian Thomas Jr. on a rookie contract. He was a 23rd pick in the draft. They traded back to get him, and he looks like a franchise receiver that Jacksonville has lacked so many times. He's coming to his own, heading towards Justin Blackmon's rookie yardage record, heading toward Allen Hurns' rookie receiving touchdown record. The arrow is pointing up for him, and Trevor Lawrence, too. He's played some great football the last 3 weeks.
The story of the biggest plays of the game definitely goes to some young players. Brian Thomas Jr., obviously a rookie, but how about a second-year wide receiver, Parker Washington? The longest punt return in Jaguars franchise history. Pinned his name next to that one in the record books.
30 years, too. 30 years of franchise history, and Jacksonville had not seen a punt return that long, and it's good for Parker. We talked about the preseason, the performance we saw, the good undefeated preseason. That's really the last time we saw Parker Washington in any kind of extended role, and he showed what he could do, and man, Sunday to see that, I thought he was going to let the punt go into the end zone and be a touchback, but man, he turned it on. Love to see that growth from him in a regular season game, too.
The NFL Next Gen Stats gave him less than a 1% chance of being returned. Parker Washington said that's enough. That's enough for him. Turned it in, took it to the house. What a return there. It was really those young players that stepped up for the Jaguars and continue to step up for them week after week. We'll see, because next up is a game against the Green Bay Packers back here in Jacksonville. Coming up, we're going to talk about maybe the players of the game and hand out a couple of game balls. And as we continue to applaud on a Victory Monday, that's straight ahead here on Teal the Show. All right, welcome back here into Teal The Show. It's time to maybe hand out those Teal The Show game balls. Justin, if you're going to give your game ball to one guy that maybe was the difference maker in this football game, where are you going to go?
There's so many ways to do it. I mean, Trevor, statistically, not the best game, but you can't just look at the box score with that. He had a magnificent game in terms of what they needed him to do. He delivered, but my game ball goes to a guy that we talked about in the negative way a lot last year, Tank Bigsby, second-year running back, 2 touchdowns, and really the game plan yesterday, ground and pound. Tank Bigsby delivered. That offensive line delivered, too. Cam Robinson left the game with a concussion. Offensive line delivered. Tank Bigsby, he's my game ball.
Yeah, look, very deserving. He was definitely running like a tank. They needed him to step up. Travis Etienne missed some time.
Yep.
Tank Bigsby, without a doubt, stepped up in a big way. Dearness Johnson also getting some work there, but Tank Bigsby was by far the star in the backfield. A couple of touchdowns for the second-year guy. 2 touchdowns in his second year. Big things ahead for Tank Bigsby as we finally start to see that combination of him and Travis come together. If I was going to give out a game ball, where would I go with it? You went with Tank Bigsby. We kind of talked about Brian Thomas Jr. already a little bit. We've talked about Parker Washington, but I think Justin kind of alluded to it a little bit for me, the offensive line. And maybe if I had to specifically point out a guy, I'm going Walker Little. He came in relief action. Walker has never been a full-time starter for the Jaguars, and he stepped in for Cam Robinson and didn't miss a beat. He's a guy who has gotten a chance to battle for starting jobs, but never been able to quite get over that hill. He steps in relief for a guy who gets hurt, doesn't miss a beat. The offensive line dominates the action, and we've been critical of that offensive line early in the season, but they've stepped up the last couple of weeks. Hats off to Walker Little and that offensive line group. Walker gets my game.
I'm with you. I think we've dogged the offensive line enough over the last couple of years, rightfully so. And when you're wrong, you admit it, and I'm wrong. The last game and a half, I know last game against the Bears, you couldn't tell it. They played well against the Colts. They played extremely well yesterday, and you got to admit when you're wrong, the offensive line is certainly coming around.
All right, let's do a quick temperature check, Justin. All right, the Jaguars have now won 2 of their last 3 games. That's one way to kind of look at this thing glass half full. Even though they are 2-5, they're sitting in 3rd place in the AFC South. If you had to say how you're feeling about maybe the chances of turning this thing around and getting at least into the running in the AFC South division, where you at?
I don't know if I can conceivably in good faith say that I have total confidence that they're going to turn around. Look, they beat the worst team in the league, perhaps, in the Patriots. They beat Joe Flacco, a 39-year-old quarterback in Indianapolis, never wins in Jacksonville. Doug Pederson says it best. You flush the wins, you flush the losses. You've got to see that consistency. I'm still not there as if they're going to turn the corner. Beat Green Bay this week, and certainly we can have that conversation. But I do think the pressure is lightened up a little bit. She couldn't come back from London 0-2, but I do think you've got to beat an actual quality opponent, and that starts this week. Temperature check, to me, is after this week's game.
All right, and I think that's a fair answer. Look, I'm not far from you on it because I'd say, look, a win is a win, and Trevor Lawrence says it week after week, it is hard to win in the NFL. But it shouldn't be as hard as the Jaguars make it look sometimes. Look, they were huge, massive favorites against the New England Patriots, a team that has admitted they're in a rebuild, one where the coach calls the team out after the game, and somehow, some way in the first quarter, the Jaguars find themselves in a 10-point hole. That's not a good look. That's not a good look against the Patriots team that has not scored, that's averaging less than 20 points a game.
And you wrote a really good story yesterday on newsforjacks.com about it, like, pump the brakes. Yes, they did what they needed to do. They beat a very bad team, but you're supposed to beat very bad teams. Yes. And Jacksonville's a 6-point favorite in that game, and you're down 10-0. Oh, man, we're more of the same. Jacksonville has not had a really recent history of beating the bad teams. Beat the teams that you're favored to beat. They've not done that well enough. So a small victory, yes, but you still look at the bigger picture, and I thought you did a good job of explaining that. This is one small battle, and Doug says, hey, it's a week league. One week he's asked about his job, he's getting fired. Next week he's getting pat on the back. So beat a good team, the Packers, and we'll have that temperature check again.
That's right, because the Packers are a good team, and they are coming to Jacksonville for another home game at the Bank, so this is going to be a big one. On Friday, we'll talk more about the matchup. We're going to have plenty of coverage right here on Channel 4 all week long, and on Sunday morning, we're going to be out at the Bank for our Tealgate. You can come and hang out with us over on Miller Electric Avenue. We'll be not far from the team's pro shop as we get you ready for everything you want to know about kickoff, about everything that's going on around the game, and have a little bit of fun while we do it. it, and we'll have Justin and Alessandra checking in on some tailgates around the area. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're out at the game, come see us. We're going to be right near the team's pro shop. If you're sitting at home, we'll be on TV right here at Channel 4 and online on news4jax.com and News4Jax Plus from 11 until noon. It is a great way to get you ready for kickoff. We'll count you down with everything you need to know.
It was fun last time. Me and Alessandra, it was pouring down rain last time. We still met fans out there who were growing stuff under tarps out of the back of their trucks and everything. People were pumped up, even in the rain, and they got to see a win, too.
Hey, fingers crossed there won't be rain this go-around, but we'll see what happens. We'll be out there, rain or shine. Hey, Justin, thanks for being here tonight. Thank you at home for tuning in. Good night, everybody, and go Jags.